Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Let me tell you about today's episode. I have a layout process video for you as part of the design team over at the Counterfeit Kit challenge. And our second challenge of the month this time is to use an envelope to hide some journaling. So I'm going to do just that with a recycled envelope. I'm going to spruce up that journaling and envelope with layers. And we're going to use some frames that I created specifically for my Counterfeit Kit this time. So let's get started. I have these 3 photos of my daughter that were taken when she got back from a Goodwill shopping trip with her friends. And she was happy to give us a fashion show and show off all the bargains that she had. So I'm going to tell this story. And I wish I had saved the receipts from that particular shopping trip so that I could tuck them in with this layout, which that envelope would have been perfect for. But I don't have the receipts specific for this event, so I may save some future Goodwill receipts because she likes to do that often. She likes to go thrifting with friends and tuck those in this envelope as well. But we'll get to what I am tucking in that envelope a little bit later. Here I am picking out frames that I created for my kit this month. And if you haven't seen the frame creation video, I do have a process video for doing that. I will need to make one more frame for this, the left-hand photo, because I didn't have one big enough to show off everything in that photo. I am choosing papers now, as you can see, and trying to come up with what I want to use, and nothing felt just right, so I'm just kind of going with what is working the best in terms of kind of letting the colors shine through in her clothes. And so I wanted to pick more subtle colors for the background. So with that in mind, I'm sorting through trying to figure out which colors are going to work. I did like this multicolor stripe there, but then the heart was a little too poppy on the layout. So I wanted those background elements to be a little more subtle so that the photos could shine through. And I think the heart blended in just a little bit more with the kind of peachy orange background. So I'm going to get my envelope assembled because I have a general feel for the design of this one. The envelope's going to sit opposite to the heart. And I did for a moment consider using the bold side of that heart. And then I realized, no, I want it to be more subtle in the background and not be the centerpiece of this layout. So I've got my frames going on with my photos, and this frame I thought tilted at an angle was kind of fun with her little sassy pose there. So I like that little jaunty angle that I've got going on with that frame. I did cut another frame, you can see on the left with my daughter, on my frame maker tool, the We Are Memory Keepers frame maker tool, and I feature that in the frame video that I did. So if you want more on that, you can go check it out. I am sprucing these frames up with washi tape, just like I did previously, and I'm just picking and choosing colors. I have a little striped washi tape this time to go along with the stripes in her outfit. So I'm going to mix and match that with some of the other colors in the other frames and her other clothes, so it kind of helps tie everything together. So I'm getting a nice balance. And I love these little washi tapes for these tiny little touches of embellishing. So with that all in place, I popped up my frames on some foam adhesive, and I'm going to attach them to my photos just in a couple of spots so that I can move them around as units. And that way I don't have to adhere them to my layout until I've made other decisions finalized. And here I am corner rounding these photos because all the frames are rounded, and that's the only photo that you can see with the square corners. So I tied it in a little bit more with the other photos because they're all covered with the rounded photo frame corners. So that's just a little detail of tying things together. All right, off screen, I set up my title on my little title tool here, and as many times as I try to get things straight, it never works out quite as well as I think it's going to, but I get it adhered and straightened, and then I go about outlining my letters because the white title on a light background is subtle, and I wanted the title to stand out more than that. So I finished that off camera, and also off camera, partially because I was having camera issues, I created my first tag for my journaling. So I made those tags in that same frame video that I mentioned, and those arrows were made in that same video also. So I attached an arrow to a tag, wrote my journaling, highlighted it with a few enamel dots, and then I'm going to build up that cluster a little bit more. In the meantime, I'm creating a little bit more of a grounding backdrop for those photos. And because I have washi tape, oh look, I finished up a roll of washi tape. How often do you do that? So anyway, because the photos cover up most of that, it's going to be a little subtle pop of color behind the photos. And I think that still plays in with wanting the background to be more subtle. But I think it helps draw the eye a little bit more to the foundation of those photos. On top of the photos, I'm adding just a couple of word embellishments to highlight some of the feelings of looking at these photos. I'm going to add a couple of word phrases to around my title also, and I found the words yippee skippy. How often am I going to use the words yippee skippy on a layout? So I think they worked for this because she gets excited when she finds good things at Goodwill. At any rate, here is my whole pile of embellishments, and all of those things that you see on screen were the things that I made in that video that I've mentioned, so you should go check that out if you haven't. I am pulling out a few more bits and pieces, including some circular embellishments from those, more arrow embellishments, both positive and negative arrow pieces. And then I realized that washi tape roll that I finished up, while the washi tape isn't sticky at the very end, I can add my own stick and use up the last little bits of that washi tape roll on this envelope cluster embellishment. So as I'm adding bits and pieces to this envelope, I'm starting to realize that if I layer up more tags, that'll create a lovely cluster for my journaling. And then I can go in and on the back of these tags, I can write some more journaling if I need to. I wasn't sure because I wrote my initial journaling and it felt like superficial a little bit, I guess. So I'm not sure if I'll go in and add more thoughts to the back of that, but it gives me the space to do that if I decide to. So with those 3 tags adhered together as one whole cluster, and that little arrow piece that I created is chipboard thickness so that it's sturdy enough to pull in and out of the layout, which you'll be able to access from the top of a page protector to read that journaling, and letting it peek out a little bit above the envelope will indicate that there is something hidden in there. I've got more arrows and circle clusters going on around this layout, and I'm purposefully using the arrows to help guide the eye around the layout. And then I'm turning back to that envelope and trying to add more and more layers. And as I'm going through this process, I'm realizing it's getting too busy, especially since a lot of the rest of the layout is fairly open. This mush of words and colors all up in that corner are getting overwhelming, and also all of those words are taking attention away from the words on the journaling, so that it's less noticeable that it's something hidden to pull out. So I go back into my stash and look for something more subtle. So just a simple pop of color that helps those tags stand apart from the envelope because the white on white is blending in too much. And then I put a little Tuesday tag on the top. So just one little word that adds to the story because she often goes shopping on Tuesdays with her friends. They have a break in between classes and they can go off campus and do some shopping. So I am much happier with that embellishing cluster there, and I finish up my other clusters on these little circles. They're great for little subtitles or captions, or here I'm putting the date on it. So I like these little embellishment circles for doing those kinds of little things. I'm going to get everything else adhered down. And with all of that layered down, I'm going to finish up these little clusters with some of these white sparkly enamel dots to help spread some of the white of that envelope around the layout a little bit more. It is a little bit stark with that being most of the white on the layout. The title is there, so I wanted to kind of draw a little more white. I guess the frames are white too. I didn't actually think about that. So just spreading out a little bit more white. And then I had a few more embellishments that I was trying to fit on that kind of supported the story. The backpack, since they do go off campus from, their classes, the backpack is definitely a part of that story. But I couldn't get it to work on this layout. It was just kind of too big to fit anywhere nicely. But I did find a little circular embellishment that says BFFs. So I will put that one on there, and that is going to finish off this layout for today, and that journaling is nice and visible so that it can be seen and pulled out from the top of the page protector. So we'll see a few close-ups of this one. I hope you guys will go check out what the other ladies have shared for their challenges over at the Counterfeit Kit blog. All the links are down below. And if you want to join us, we have an open, friendly Facebook group that you can come and join us for some scrapbooking kit build and layout challenge fun. Until I'm back with you next week, I hope you have an artful weekend.